Okay, people. So today I am joined by Jaron Lockridge, writer, director, producer. Man, he's been in the film game doing his thing for a minute. Jaron, thank you for your time. Real appreciate that.
Thank you for having me on.
Hey, no worries at all. So, you got a new film coming, my man. You got a new film coming, The Stix, right?
Yeah, yeah. The Stix. It was a started as a web series in 2017.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's on
saw that. I
YouTube.
was wondering if the film was a continuation of that.
Yeah, it's actually when that whole thing kind of fell apart, I just kind of went back to the table and rewrote the whole idea. So it's kind of like a reimagination of that web series into a movie. So it's kind of resetting the table in a way.
Okay. All right. So, all right, that's an interesting thing, right? So you had this web series.
Mhm.
So, firstly, where did the idea for that come from?
We were just wanting to make content. I'm a big fan of The Wire, the show The Wire,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I stay here in a rural area here in Tennessee in the U.S. So I always see those stories in the big city with these high-rise buildings and stuff, and never saw a story like that in the country, in a country setting where I am. So I thought it'd be neat to kind of show, those things do happen here as well. And
Mm.
just thought, that'd be a clever story to write that I haven't seen before. And that's how the web series came about. And had a little bit of a pretty good response, especially when the web series went to Amazon at that time. And a lot of people, when we couldn't get season 2 off the ground, they were like, "Man, where's season 2, man? We kind of like the Sticks, bring it back." So in a way, it was just kind of like this little soft demand for it. The people kept asking for it. So I was like, okay, people actually want to see it again. So I'll just recreate the whole idea and make it a movie, something that's a little easier to get to the finish line. And here we are.
Okay. So, what was the difficulty getting a season two going?
A lot of it is, especially in the indie realm, on the no budget um realm
Mm.
that I work in. Everybody has jobs.
Yes.
Most of the actors have jobs. Most of the actors stay here and there, and it was just hard. We had it together, had the scripts wrote for season 2, and COVID came. So
Oh.
when once COVID hit, a lot of people weren't comfortable. Even after it kind of slowed a little bit, people weren't
Mm.
comfortable with coming because it was still the unknown of COVID. So I rewrote the entire season, 10 brand new episodes, and recast it and went to get ready again. And then ended up having some issues with casting. And one of the main leads, a good friend of mine, Larry Triplet, got sick. So that just kind of stopped it again. And I was like, at this point, I'm just putting too much energy on something that doesn't seem to be in motion. And I just kind of put the idea to the side at the time until now when I decided to make it a movie.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. So when that decision came, right, and you're like, you know what, I want to bring the Sticks back, but let's do a movie.
Hmm.
What was that kind of thought process? You know what I mean? Because you could have just done season two as a movie,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? You could have set it in the same realm, different characters,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So, what was then the thought of actually, if I'm going to do a movie, let's just kind of rejig it. Let me go in and change a few things, make it, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like update it, as it were.
Yeah. Well, I've been trying to do this series things for a while. So I've had, I want to say, 2 other shots at trying to create a series, and I've just seen how I haven't been able to make it past a season 1 in either one of them. So I just see like
Right.
that's right now that's a little bit bigger, something that, a little bit more that I can choose. So let me think of another idea. So to kind of keep that series in mind. I thought of making it a universe. So I got this
Mm.
idea called the Stix Universe where I can still launch these characters and have this big idea as I did with the series, but more as a movie series. So I have the Stix that's coming up first. I just completed another movie called Cubic Zirconia, which a
Okay. Yeah.
character, the detective at the end of the Stix, it's his standalone film, but they're all connected. So I kind of have like a universe where each of these characters are going to have their own stories that branch off. And
Okay.
yeah, it's a lot easier to do that as a movie than continuously trying to have episode 1, 2, and come with seasons. And so, yeah, it's still going to be a big idea, but I think it's going to be a ambitious idea that this time I can accomplish on my budget level and still get, effective and high quality.
Yeah, like there's I think the funding thing is always an issue when talking to people in the indie game,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So it's a shame, man, because you see so many great ideas, right? So many great films,
Yeah.
but it's just that struggle to get that financing. So when you transition to the film concept of things,
Mm-hmm.
have you found it easier to engage with the finances to get that money? And once you finish this one, that they're kind of on board with the concept to do this kind of universe kind of approach.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's easier because nothing's easier doing doing films, but it's a lot. It's just when you're doing show, I see now why most TV shows have these high budgets because it just takes so much. Um, you got to make sure if you're not working in a studio setting with sets, you have to make sure a main location is always available for new seasons and stuff like that. So
Mm.
with a movie, you can make arrangements for just that movie, and then if you decide to have a part 2 in the movie, like the story can move so much quicker than in a series where so much stuff everything has to match and be so similar to the first season. So I self-finance my own projects. So it's a lot easier from that standpoint doing the movie rather than a series that takes so much more to accomplish. So I take my hat off to people who are doing these high quality series on, less than, very, very low budgets. It takes a lot to get that done. And by my ability to how I self-finance and use my work to produce my work, it's just easier going the movie route, and you can get movies promoted a lot easier and get those done a lot easier than compared to a series. So that's just something that's worked personally for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess it's being able to keep that cast together, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like there's having this the Zubis Aconia, right? So
Mhm.
it's having that deal with the guy to be like, yo, I've got this idea. Are you
Mhm.
gonna, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
then if another project comes and they're like, oh, I wanna, so that must
Yeah.
be a bit kind of tense as
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah, yeah. And he, even when I wrote this script, uh, that idea had already was in my head. So when we filming the Sticks, like he already knew that the movie was coming. But even if there was an issue where, say, he became unavailable or something for the movie, it would have been a easy fix. I would have just took another character in the movie, that was a detective, or just created a new character, but added
Mm.
like some of those characters that you see in the Sticks that you'll see in this movie. It'll still work as well without being tied in with, like, if I were to do a season 2 of the Sticks, so like as a web series, because if you establish like Greer and Chu are the main 2 characters in the Sticks in season 1, you can't recasting Chu or Greer, if one of them became available, it'd just be too shocking. It'd be like, wow, like what's going on here? But in a movie, by it being, most movies are one-offs, but even those sequels and stuff, you have the flexibility to do more within the story than a series where they're just so attached that if you mess with any moving part in there, it can just throw so much off. So, like, with prequels, movies do it all the time with prequels. You see new actors in roles, and they got a way to explain it to make it work and keep the story going forward. So, it's just a lot easier with the movie format that I found, that I'm not locked into certain things as I was with the series. So, it kind of gives me a little flexibility to move about if something unexpected does happen.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because we see like films become TV shows,
Mm-hmm.
and then the creators be like, oh well, it gave me more room to breathe and I can do so much more with it.
Mm-hmm.
But true say though, a lot of times they're dealing with huge budgets.
Yeah.
It's a major studio, so locking people in and having the room to tell that story and build those sets, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
But in the indie world, I can see how the other way around is more efficient.
Yeah, and it just, a lot of times you have to work on your creativity. When money isn't there, creativity has to be high. So you have to come up with different ways to do this and that in the indie world, which is, some people, I guess it works great either way, because like a lot of indie producers who are used to working with pennies could probably go to a big set and get more done with a little budget, where a big producer working with a little budget would probably freak out. So it's kind of one of those things where maybe it's a plus to it, making things happen with pennies. So when you finally do get that budget, you can maximize that budget to where another director who's only used to these big budgets wouldn't have a clue how to. So it's hard, but it trains you to be very cognizant, how to get things done with a little money.
I definitely feel there's some truism with that, right? But I feel it's the person, because there's different levels to indie films, right?
Yeah.
There's people like that could be working on a similar budget, but you look at those films, and one film you can go, yeah, that's a small budget, and another one you'd be like, wait, they made that on that much?
Yeah.
Because you could never tell.
Yeah.
Right. And I think those people, if given that bigger budget and that bigger situation, I think they possibly will flourish more, because there is that issue sometimes when people go on that bigger stage and then they get a little flustered.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, oh, I'm not used to doing, oh, wait, I could, what am I gonna, and you know what I mean? And it's that kind of thing. So, yeah, you know what I mean? I think it's the way you approach telling a story, and your creativity that will give you those tools to be able to flourish in other situations.
Yeah, no doubt.
But you're a creative cat, man. You've done a lot. You've done a lot, man. Like, where does that come from? Like, where was that kind of impetus to tell stories in this visual medium?
I've always been a writer. I've always had like this active imagination, just could think of stuff. And if somebody had saw me off to a room by myself, they probably think I was crazy, because I've always I'd be acting out scenes in my head and talking to myself and stuff. So I've always had an active imagination. And at the time when I graduated high school here in the States, like it was around 04. I don't think YouTube had really started off that strong yet. And I didn't have enough money to move to LA to pursue this as a career, as most people assumed. Well, I guess it was, LA was still like the mecca of entertainment, so you almost had to go there to experience the film industry. But I knew that wasn't something that was possible at the time. And when technology and cameras and the internet kind of made it easier to get on here and research. How do I operate a camera? How do I what is aperture? How do I write a story? What's the act structure? You kind of start teaching yourself these things that at once, one time you could only get in film school. So going out here, making those mistakes. I remember I got a camera at a pawn shop for like $50. It was this little mini DV camera. You took these little tapes. It was a Canon GL1, I believe. And I got that camera, and it was a cinema camera. So I started learning it and shooting with it. And it was a editing program, I think, called Sony Vegas at the time. Started editing and just working on, this craft, and started building these skills myself. And just slowly just started putting it together, writing and taking little shorts and stuff, and going out here filming and editing it together. And if I had to talk to people in the industry, at the time it was just kind of like a naive confidence to do it, because if I had talked to people in the industry, I probably would have been scared and thought like I can't do this, because many people when I first started was like, you shot, wrote, and directed this? Like, how do you do that? It was, the thought of it was like you still had to have 100 people behind the camera in order to get a movie done. So if I had listened to a lot of those people first, I probably have been terrified and never started in the first place. So it was a little bit of naive confidence, or just not knowing how things were actually in the industry, that got me started and learning these skills. And slowly by slowly, I could get to the point to almost as a one-man band, I can make a movie. Like, it was just, I had a system together to where I could do all these jobs and make a legible movie out of it. And, as time have gone by, I've gotten real good at it, to the point that where you can't tell that I have a super skeleton crew behind the camera.
Well, I think that's an interesting point, right? Because you always get told this is the way you do something, right? A film has to be 3 acts, right? You should do this, and the lighting should be that, and blah, blah, blah. Then you hear from these other directors who will talk, like a Richard Linklater, or a Fincher, or a Asimov, you know what I mean? Like, these guys will talk and then be like, no, I do it like this. This is my approach. And people are like, oh, that's interesting. Like, he's the only one that could do it like that. Or like she's a savant. She does it like this. But it's sold like they're the only person. No one else could ever do it differently. That person is an outlier. But there's when you look at books, there's so many different structures to a book, to a story. Music, so many different styles and ways to bring a song to life. So when you look at all of these other things, just running a company, right? There's all these different ways. But there seems to be this weird kind of conceit that you can only do a film in one way. So yeah, if you had gone to other people and said, you can't, no, you can't. Right. So if you just kind of dive in, sometimes, right, you find your lane and you find the way to do it, and it's just like, would we still be sitting here if you would try to seek that help and guidance from people? You know what I mean? So it's just, it's always an interesting thing when it comes to this kind of stuff.
I mean, it's just, it was, I remember just being like that one guy. Like, I would go to a film festival and would say like, hey, I wrote, directed, and filmed, and I remember getting those looks. I was like, am I doing something wrong? I remember feeling like that. Like, did I say that out loud, or was I supposed to say that? Because it was just so out of the ordinary. Like, you just had, it was a certain formula with making movies, which now is not so much the case. I believe, that outlaw mentality is kind of starting to, pick up a little bit. And you're starting to see a lot of the, like Soderbergh and a lot of these guys are starting to take those initiatives to, okay, if the studio won't let me make it this way, I'll just do it my way over here, and you're starting to see that a little bit more the norm. But yeah, when I first started my company in 2015, it was like, you're doing what? It was totally different at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. I think sometimes as well, it's like the people, because they can't do that.
Yeah.
So they just think, well, if I can't do it, how's that person gonna do it? Like that's ridiculous. And some people can't write.
Yeah.
Right? Some people can't write, or some people can't direct. They can only write, right? Or some people are just set up to be a great producer or an editor. You know what I mean? Like everyone's got different skill sets, but sometimes we assume because we can't do something, no one could do that. It's impossible. So it's a funny thing, man. It's a funny thing, but it's good that you know what I mean, you had that self-belief. Right? You had that self-belief, but where does that come from? Where does that self-belief that Jaron can tell stories? You know what I mean? He can get this shit done.
Yeah. It's just because I just know I have a gift to write, and just sometimes just writing up, like, how did I just came up with that. And knowing that you have that and allowing that to sit on the table is kind of a disservice to yourself. So it kind of pushes me, because I know, like, I can come up with these stories. So just let me get all this other shit together. Let me figure out how to do the technical side so that I can get these stories out of my head onto a screen. So that was the push within me, is because I know I have a gift of writing, but I probably don't know how to do this and this as well. This person here, they're not going to work with my budget. This person here is not going to work with my budget. I'll do a fundraiser, maybe 3 people will donate, so I'm not going to get the money here. So how can I, raise money and learn these skills and get this vision out of my head? So it was just constantly working on a system to do that. And early on, it started out as paychecks from my job, just saving up, not going on vacation this summer, or just saving up those funds so that I can fund the movie myself. And like I said, taking these seminars and learning and getting out here shooting with this camera and practicing with this lighting setup, and just taking the initiative myself to go out here and build these skills up and learn how to make a movie, and not taking no for an answer, because a lot of the times you did get no. When I first started, I was trying to find people, try to go the regular route, try to find a DP and all this and that. But you find out quick how much money it takes to make a movie, and I didn't have it. So that drive in me of just wanting to see my story on the screen is what pushed me to take these unusual measures to get it on the screen. And once you get a movie on the screen and you see a vision that was in your head come to life on screen, it's an addiction at that point. Like it's no better feeling than to see that happen. So at that point, like, I want to continue to do this. So it was just, an internal drive that pushed me forward into that point to making my own movies.
Right. Yeah. It is that buzz that you get once you created something that's just like, shit. Okay, when can I do this again? When can I get that feeling again?
Yeah.
Right.
It's almost like, I equate it, it's almost like graduating the stage. Like, when you go to graduation, that feeling like, wow, I did it. And that joy that you feel, I equate it when you finish a movie and you see it, it's almost equivalent to graduating college or high school or whatever that you worked hard to achieve, and you finally there. It's just one of those joyous feelings, and it can be very addicting.
Yeah. So for you, getting that feeling, right? Is it on wrap day, the minute that final take is shot? Is it once it's in the can in the editing booth, or is it that first screening? Right, that first screening, and maybe not the first screening, right? Because that could be with the cast and crew, but the first screening with people that have no affiliation, that lock eyes on it, and then get that visceral reaction to what you've created. Like when, at what point, or is it every point and it's just different feelings, different emotions?
Yeah, it's really different emotions. When very early on, when I rapped, I probably would say was when I got that feeling a lot of times. And then the more that I started making movies and saw like, when you rap, it's not done. You know, it's not, the hard part is not over yet.
Yeah.
And finally, because so much can happen when you're editing, files can go bad, and you still have some hurdles to climb in the editing process. So now, when I get that feeling is definitely when I'm able to screen it for the first time with the audience. Like just seeing your movie with the audience and just getting that reaction lets you know if whatever it is that you're doing worked or not. And that's when you get that feeling now, I guess, because this is maybe what's my 10th film, I think. So a lot of that newness has wore off. But yeah, now when you're in the screening room and you can see that, okay, this emotion that I wanted to portray here, okay, the audience reacted right to that. This laugh that I wanted here, okay, they reacted right to that. So a lot of that is just confirmation that whatever you intended with your work was effective or not. And that's when you really get that. After a great screening, it's a great feeling. I mean, it's unmatched.
Mm,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. There's something about being in a screening that's electric.
Yeah.
I remember, oh man, like, oh, there's been a few, but I just remember I was covering the BFI London Film Festival. So in 2020,
Mhm.
they screened, we went to a morning screen, like, and the press screenings are early in the morning, right? 8 in the morning, right? So you're out of your yard at 6 a.m. You know what I mean? And you're just doing your thing. And and it was raining and just standing out in the cold. And so it was at the Royal Festival Hall, and they'd never screened films at the Royal Festival Hall before.
Mhm.
But it was The Harder They Fall,
Oh,
right? James Samuel.
yeah.
And just when that just came on, oh man, it was like that first thing with the way he incorporated the sound and the visuals and just everything. It was an experience.
Yeah.
And you just look around and you see other people having that same emotion as you. You know what I mean? And then I remember like this year with Book of Clarence.
Mhm.
And again, people having that same emotional feeling, and you just come out and it's that buzz and you're talking and being like, yo, what about that scene? What about that scene? And there's something to it.
Mhm.
There's something to a great screening. But here's the thing, right? I've walked out of screenings and I thought, oh, I really enjoyed that film. And you're not seeing that buzz.
Mhm.
Right? You're not seeing people with that similar reaction. I remember walking out of a screening for a film called Shortcomings, right? And I thought, I really enjoyed that. I didn't see the same kind of reaction. So for you, have you screened something where there wasn't the reaction you were hoping for? And how does that affect you? Because my thing is, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't mean it's a bad film.
Mhm.
Right? It doesn't mean it's a bad film, but you know what I mean? The reaction can have such an impact, right? It could make you go, I need to edit this, I need to change it, I need to reshoot some shots. When the film isn't bad, it was just that audience, for whatever reason, couldn't connect to it. So, have you had that experience?
I haven't had it to a degree where I left like this and that. I have noticed like on some screenings where maybe something I thought was a serious moment may have came across more as comedy, and it made me reevaluate a scene or something and kind of go back to the editing booth on certain things and kind of change the way certain things were perceived in that story. But I have yet to have a screening to where I left and was like, man, this film must sucked. Like I have a experience to that point. Um, but yeah, I usually, when I'm in there, I'm just looking and engaging the audience, and I use it as a learning experience a lot of times. Like if this joke hit, or if this situation emotionally connected with the audience, or did it not. And a lot of times, I'll go back to the editing booth and just start tweaking certain things. Or if I get in there, I was like, that scene may have went a little too long, I'll go back and trim it, or something. So a lot of times I use the screenings as a test with the audience on corrections that need to be made. I'm very self-aware as a filmmaker. Sometimes you have to be. So you gotta use that as tools to improve your film and not take it to heart. Like, why didn't I get a laugh here? Like, and everything is subjective, of course, but if it's a funny moment, you should at least hear two people in there laughing at it. If everybody in there just quiet, it didn't work. So a lot of times you can take that as tools to better your movie and use it, because especially on the indie level, you don't have the budget to just have 4 or 5 test screenings. So a lot of times you have to depend on sending out private screeners to people who will be honest with you about the work, and then using that screening as a final gauge on, okay, is this getting the response that I want to whatever content that's in this movie.
Yeah, that's something, right? Because big budget film, they can do all manner of different screenings to gauge, but on that indie front, you don't have that ability. But I think it must be tricky, because I know when you go to a film festival, right, and you're watching so many different films, sometimes you'll watch a film and it's real bleak, right? And your mood is now, it's down. Like, no, and it wasn't like the film was bad, but it's just like, fuck,
yeah,
that was some heavy shit. Then you go into that next film, and it can take a minute before you're like, you know what I mean? Your vibe is back up. So sometimes those early jokes, those early moments, you're still a bit flat.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it gets to that tricky situation for that person, because you don't know what people have seen before they've watched your film.
Yeah.
Right. So there's all kind of manner of things that can kind of affect this stuff. So it's interesting.
Yeah. And just, like you said, like the response could be, if that person's having a horrible day, like their response might not be the same, like if they were having a great day. So yeah, it's a lot of subjectiveness that goes into it. And sometimes you just have to trust your material and just put it out into the world and let the world decide. Yeah. Cause you can nitpick it to death. And I try to, like, after so long, I'll get to doing stuff, and most filmmakers deal with it. They'll nitpick this, nitpick that, and sooner or later you just have to slap your hand. I'm done. Put it out there. Whatever happens, happens. Let it go. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's always the most frustrating thing, because it's looking at something that you've done and going, I think I can make it better.
Yeah.
I think I could perfect this. But then going, all right, the deadline. No, I've just got to submit it.
Yeah.
Right. I've just got to, I had to, I did an interview the other day, and I had to write this comms plan, and I'm just looking at the plan. I talked to my girl the night before. She's like, oh, how are you feeling? I'm like, man, I just feel I could do more to this. I feel I could do more to this, but I'm just like, but I've got to submit it. So I submitted it, and then, but I did the presentation, and they're like, yo, this was so comprehensive. We really enjoyed this. And I'm just like, really? I didn't think it was that good. But they're like, no, we really thought this was great. I'm just like, okay. But that's always the thing. You never feel that what you've done is like necessarily perfect.
Yeah. And I'm the exact same way. I feel you all the way. I've, a lot of times when you get compliments and, hey man, you wonder, is it genuine? It's genuine. I mean, you're like, are you telling me that just because I'm here?
Yeah. Why are you trying to fuck with me?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Come on, don't be disrespectful now.
We'll do that. So I understand that totally. We're our own worst critics, especially when it comes to us. Sometimes I wonder, is it because we spend so much time with the work that we're almost numb to it? But yeah, it's a gift and a curse of being a creator in whatever fashion we are.
Oh, yeah. That is so true, man. It's so true. But you mentioned something a moment ago about like that editing process and files, right? What's the worst shit you've had to deal with, like with corruption of things you filmed and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Knock on wood, I haven't had a file corrupt on me yet. I've had like movies that I've wanted to go back and maybe do like a behind the scenes or commentary on, and notice that okay, that hard drive is corrupted all the files. So I've had it happen after the fact, but during the movies, I have yet to come across that. Now I have had like half a day shoot format on a card, like, and I don't know how it happened. So
Ooh.
Nothing is more scary than that. It's like going and filming, thinking you got your card safely stored, and then getting back and figure out there's nothing on there. So like a whole day of work is just down the drain. That's my biggest fear, is doing that. And that's why now I'm getting to the point to even I have these hard drives and stuff on my desk now. And I even invested in a cloud service that even backing them up in the cloud, because I'm so paranoid that if my files lose and we lose all this work, I know I'll probably be so down in the dumps I wouldn't even attempt to try to go back to the drawing board and, all right, guys, let's reshoot this. No, that's hours of your life just going down the drain. But I've been fortunate so far not to have something like that happen, because that would be devastating. Because we're spending at times 8 to 12 hours on set, days upon time. Like if you lose a drive with all that work on it, like I couldn't imagine, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that would just be the worst.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Oh man, like the way I used to record this, I used to have like a little mic that fit on my phone and I tape it. And I was at a film festival a few years back, Sci-Fi London, and I watched this film called The Tangle, and it was incredible. It's a really good film. Jessica Graham, and oh my god, David Soren Kelly. They wrote and directed this film. There's like this incredible like poetry to the writing, and I'm speaking to Jessica, and I thought we'd done a great interview. So put the episode together, put it out, and then like yeah, I get a message from David, and he's just like, "Yo, thanks for viewing the film, but there's no sound on the interview." And I'm like, "Yo, what?" And it was just like and I'm just like, "What the fuck what's happened? What's happened to this file?" And I am terrible with editing and that kind of thing. I don't know what happened. I couldn't save it, and I was so just deflated with that. It was just like a punch in the gut, because I just thought it was such an enjoyable conversation. Luckily, we did it again. For another festival, I got the guys in and we recorded it again. But oh man,
but
yeah,
I'm willing to bet it probably wasn't as good as the first time, though, was it? It's like that magic, you just can't get it again.
Well, it was a different, because that one I only spoke to Jessica, and the second one they were both there for it, so it was just a different experience. But I was just like, I hated the fact that first one was just gone.
Yeah. Terrible.
Yeah.
I just couldn't imagine. I know, like, anytime something goes wrong, I mean, even when like anybody else can't tell, and it's something that I notice, it'll like I still have movies where nobody notices an issue, and I can't watch it because something happened, and I know it happened, but maybe you can't tell, but I can tell, and I know that feeling. So
Mm,
whenever
yeah.
something goes wrong with something you're doing, eh, nothing worse.
Oh man. Yo, when you started filming, right?
Yeah.
What what do you think your biggest inspiration was? You know, like, was there a filmmaker that you had looked at and you're like, man, I love their style, right? Because you know, you've referenced the fact that you enjoyed The Wire,
Mm-hmm.
but was there a director or a style that had spoken to you?
It's so my favorite filmmaker is Quentin Tarantino, hands down.
Okay, okay,
But as far as style, I would say um I look to him. I just love movies, period. I would say Antoine Fuqua. He's one of my favorites out there.
oh, that's
John,
how you say I've
is it?
been mispronouncing his name.
I might have just mispronounced it. I just really guessed there. I hope I didn't butcher his name. If you ever see this, I'm sorry. But yeah, he's one of my favorites. John Singleton. I mean, he's one of my favorites. I just love whenever somebody can these directors who can make content to almost to the point to where it seems so real. It's almost like a documentary. Like
Mm,
when performances are so natural and so authentic. And that's one thing where with The Wire, like I felt that show was just so brilliant because they made Baltimore, it felt like a documentary. Like the cameras just went out, it was in these guys' faces. Like they weren't actors. This wasn't a TV show. It just felt so authentic and real, and like to the point that I didn't realize there was no composed music in any episode because it was just felt so
yeah.
real, and authentic. And I just think that show is just so brilliant because the way that they showcase the issues happening in inner Baltimore, and they incorporated um real people um into it. And I'm not sure if Simon directed any of it, but it was brilliantly written. I mean, that's just why it's just always been one of my favorite shows, and kind of especially with the Sticks, just trying to bring that authenticity in into my own work, just kind of show like, you know, just bring this ground level realism to the work. So it like works more than anything, just inspire me because I love so many different directors.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think with The Wire, they some of the cast weren't actors. Some of the cast were drug dealers.
Yeah.
You know, there wasn't really a theme song for the show. Like
Mhm.
that those are the things that kind of really did set it apart. That it wasn't like this mood music. There's not this fancy, bells and whistles like intro to it. It was just this gritty, raw, like emotional thing
Yeah.
that just sucks you in.
Yeah. And just the visceralness of it, and how even with all this, heavy content where you have, characters like Bunk and can throw comedy in there, you still laugh with all this going on, and like the characters is just it's to me it's my favorite piece of work that's out there, and it's a TV show. And I'm a movie guy, and
Mm,
I rarely watch TV shows because I don't have the time to just sit there and watch shows over and over again. But
yeah,
my
yeah,
first
yeah.
time seeing The Wire, which was actually uh really just about, I want to say maybe 9 years ago. Like I didn't see The Wire when it was coming on HBO. It was after the fact. I just happened to binge watch. Like I started and couldn't stop. I watched like all 5, 6 seasons, I believe, maybe in 2 weeks. Like I just could not
Yeah.
stop watching that show. It attached to me. So yeah, I would have to say, you know, a lot of those type of works inspire me more than just individual directors. But I do have a lot of directors that I love their work. Anytime they put something out, I watch. Ryan Coogler, uh, Antoine, like so many people that I love watching. Richard Linklater, I love him.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah. So it's just a lot of directors out there that I admire for sure.
Okay. Yeah, you can definitely see a kind of a wire influence in the Stix.
Yeah.
Right, just in the tone and the way it's put together. You know, so yeah, that's interesting. Right.
Yeah.
But how long do you think it took for you to kind of find your own voice, to really, you know what I mean, find that key thing that says this is a Jaron Lockridge joint?
It took a while because early on I was just trying to figure out what works. You know what, because you want people to watch your movie after
Yeah.
you make it. You want people to attach to the work, and so I tried everything. I've tried horrors, I've tried comedies, I've tried everything but sci-fi, which I hope to try eventually one day. But the thing that had the most response were these authentic dramas that told human stories. One of my most successful projects to date is a project called Betray, and just showing that relationship and that human story of something that's been told a million times just in my voice. I saw how people reacted to that project, and I've noticed the same with the Stix. Even when the first web series came out, a lot of people were like, this just feels so real, you know, like the way some of these stories are going off, the way you're telling them, the people feel so real. So I've noticed that my strength is just into telling human stories, into telling things that people would experience every day. Maybe not a comedy. My comedy's bombed. My horrors have done okay, and I've had a few that bombed. And you know, a lot of things are like with my horrors, a big critique a lot of people would say is it's too drama. You know, the horror. We want to see more killing. We want to see this and that, and that's not necessarily my thing. So I've noticed like more of the drama side, telling human stories, authentic stories, and with I have a background in law enforcement, so seeing those stories play out, and you know, being able to witness so many different people and so many different moments, I feel like uh in a way, as a writer, I have a experience. I have uh, a perspective that no other writer or very few other writers can say they have, because I've seen so many things. I've witnessed so many things, and being able to incorporate that into my storytelling is something I feel is unique and can work in my favor. So that's the road that I decided to take, and I'm going to continue to take it because it's been successful for me.
Okay. I have to say, I do like those kind of drama horrors. You know what I mean? Where it's just not all like, you know what I mean, the craziness and everything like that. Sometimes I think, yeah, that's enjoyable to me.
Yeah. In my opinion, that's the best horror. When you attach to the character, you feel for the character. When something bad happens to the character, that horror is more effective. But
exactly.
yeah, I've noticed that it's hard finding that niche of people, because a lot of people, when they see a horror, they're like, okay, where are the kills? You know, let's get to this real quick. We don't want this sloppy story. Let's get to
Yeah, I think horror fans can be very much like not enough blood. Where
Yeah.
were the killings? There was only 5 killings in this. I wanted double figures. What's going on?
Yeah, that's why Terrifier right now is so popular. Like I looked at Terrifier, I was like, man, this is gore porn. This is, this is what they love it. So I see you got a lot of horror fans. That's what they look for. So
yeah. That's why like Saw and Hostel and those franchises are like boom, killing it.
Yeah. So, hey, it's an audience sport. So hey, do your thing.
Oh man. Yeah, so when you're, you know, so you found that these were the kind of stories that, you know, you like to tell. But Yeah, as you mentioned, right? You're in law enforcement, right? And you're still working.
Yeah.
So, like, have your colleagues been like, yo, John, yeah, we watched your latest film. That was very close to our last case. Like, what the fuck? You're letting everyone know what you're doing. What's going on, man? Like, has anyone just been like, yo, that was too real, man? You're letting the bad guys know how we operate.
Yeah. One thing about it, there's nothing I could put out there that shows like first 48 or whatever hadn't already spoiled. I mean, like they totally killed the tools of the trade. But yeah, I usually, I kind of separate myself a lot of times. With a lot of these stories, they're inspired by certain things that I've witnessed or experienced. I'll never tell a story exact,
Yeah.
just out of respect and out of to keep that from being like, come on, Jaron, like you can't do that. So yeah, I'm very cognizant of that and try to never go that route. But like, it's a lot of times where just you just hear stories, you see stories, and a lot of these experience where it really helps me is whenever I'm writing about a certain situation. I remember when maybe I dealt with this lady who had a loss or son or somebody got killed over a drug transaction, and remembering how she felt and how she reacted. So that helps me to make it authentic when I write it for this character. Or whenever this person may have got arrested, how did he respond or how did he act after the arrest? It helps me put it into the inspiration for this character. So a lot of the real reactions and responses to certain situations that I've dealt with within the job just helps me bring authentic reactions and responses and inspirations to these characters, rather than just taking this story that I experienced and writing a story about it. It just helps me to bring that realism and authenticity within my stories to another level within these stories.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, do you find that your work is kind of cathartic, right? It helps you deal with the stress of, the law work. Because I can imagine that must be heavy at times and stressful.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. That's one of the reasons why I got back into writing, to be honest with you, because it's this job is more mental than physical than anything. So I remember a long time ago, back when I was at the academy, they were always like, find something to do outside of this. Find a hobby, find something to do. And I remember when I got back into writing, it was just a great outlet to kind of start doing with that, because you'll see you go to work a wreck or something, somebody's dead, and then you'll have to go right back in service and go to a call and get cussed out, and then go here and deal with this. So like in 8-hour shifts, you just constantly get beat across the head with stuff that most people would probably go to therapy if it happened once. So a lot of times, dealing with this job, it can mess with your mental a lot. So you have to find some type of outlet. And if you don't, you have a lot of these instances where you see happen on TV all the time, where this cop just blew off at somebody or something because he's been packing this down for so long that it just explodes. So yeah, it's been a great outlet for me, and it's trending in a very positive way to hopefully it can be a full-time outlet. So but yeah, it's definitely helps me to get away from the job, and it's one of the reasons why I started back in it in the first place.
Well, I mean, it's a good thing you did, because the Stix.
Yeah.
Damn. Like, damn. I'm saying, I'm watching it, and there's so many threads in this.
Yeah.
Right? There's these different characters and different things that are going, and we're seeing certain things happening, and you're just like, okay, right. Who the fuck where is that going? Like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
And you're just it's funny because I really, like yourself, I really enjoyed The Wire.
Mm-hmm.
But I came to The Wire late, right? We, in the UK, it was that time where a film would drop in the States and 6 months later it comes over here. Sometimes a year later we got it, right? We didn't get TV at the same time as you. So, The Wire came over a bit later, and then I was even later still to it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching it and being like, I mean, it's good,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's good, but
Yeah.
but I was still intrigued. So I watched the next episode, and then I'm watching the next episode, and then all of a sudden I'm just like, "Yo, what the fuck? No! You can't do. Why did you do that? What the fuck is?" And I'm just like, "Yo, what's happening here?" And I realized I'm just sucked in, like I'm immersed in this world.
Yeah.
Right, but I didn't clock when that happened to me.
Yeah.
And that was a similar emotion with the film. I'm watching the film and being like, this is intriguing. This is like, as we start off with the situation, right? And so you're just like, okay. So what brought that on? Like, what led to that? And so we're seeing these different pieces, and then we're with the cops, and then we're just, so you're watching and be like, I mean, this is, interested, right? And then all of a sudden you're just like, yo, okay, what the fuck? Oh my God. And you're just like, oh shit, I'm in this. And then we get towards the end. And I'm just like, I didn't even see that. I didn't even see that. What the heck? I'm like, what's this motherfucker done? Like, what is this guy? Oh man, like it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was great. I fully enjoyed this. I fully enjoyed this, man.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I hadn't seen the web series. So with this, how much is similar and how much has completely changed? And then where did those ideas come from? Because it's an interesting, and as I said, it's an interesting story, and there's so many different threads here. So it's not just a simple tale. So the complexity, like, a lot went into this. You can clearly see.
Yeah. Well, as far as similarities, mostly just the theme is the carryover from the web series. The same, cops chasing the drug dealer. The same theme with it, but a lot of the characters are different. Characters that were small or almost just minimal in the web series take a stronger presence in the movie. So it's just a lot of stuff that's been reworked. And when I made the movie, knowing that I'm trying to do this universe type thing, one thing that I was very nervous about was, am I doing too much in the movie? And because it is a lot of stuff going on, because the Stix is the first movie to lead off this little universe idea. So I wanted to make sure that it was sustained enough in itself, but also it's good enough to kind of, if somebody watches, say, the next movie, Cubic Zirconia, they can come back to the Stix and be like, oh, that so you will have a moment like that when you watch these movies, where you see stuff that happens in the Stix and won't even realize that it's connected to something else in the future. So it's a lot of storylines in it that are kind of leading off into more that's of stuff that's going to happen later. And also in the Stix, like I left it up to some things where you have to watch it a second or third time before you even catch something that's in there, because you have pictures on the wall, you have little statements that are made that you probably won't catch until the third time you see it. So I kind of left like little stuff in there that keeps it, with enough meat on the bones for second and third viewings. And also with this little universe idea that I have in mind on a movie that's probably fourth in line, you can read that, see that movie, and if you watch the Stix, you can go back to the sticks and be like, oh, that was clever. You know, like, wow, you thought of that. And then even if you haven't watched the sticks, you can still watch one of these movies that come in later and have a great experience and not know anything about the sticks. So it's one of those ideas that I spent a lot of time on. I wanted them all to connect, but be able to stand alone if nobody knew about the other movies. And it's just putting all of that and introducing a lot of these characters in the sticks. I was kind of like, maybe I need to, this and that. So it's one of those, it's a risk. Some people may feel like it's a little too much going on to keep up with. Some people may be like, okay, that, the different storylines kept me intrigued to see how they all tie up at the end. And, it's just one of those projects that I'm just waiting, just anxious to see how the audience responds to it and see if it worked or not.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's, too many threads, right?
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes we'll watch a story where there's these, drug dealers and criminals and this kind of thing, and there's, stuff going on within the group, but we never see it.
Yeah.
Or you only see a couple of things, and you're just like, wait, if it was that big a situation, surely there's more fallout, right? And so you need it to be complex in the way of, like, these people aren't dumb. You know what I mean? Obviously, some people are dumb, right? But a lot of people, to stay alive doing certain things, you have to be a bit thoughtful. Right. So I think it needs to be complex in that way of all of these different things happening. But it can't be too crazy where you're just like, I have no clue what's going on. So I thought you got that balance right. And then, the fallout to it. I like the fallout to it. It all felt like, okay, that was good. That was good. And as I said, the last thing was just like, boy, it was like, have you read June and Frank Herbert's books?
I haven't. Yeah.
There's I just remember, like, June's incredible, but the second one, June Messiah, it's like, June is kind of like that thick. Like, June Messiah is like that thick, and so it's this different experience. But the story itself is so great, but we're getting to this point, and there's so many things happening, and you're just like, wait, there's not many pages left. How is this all gonna wrap? And then it's like dominoes, and it all starts to be bum, 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 bum. And you're just like, oh my God, that's so smart. That's so smart. Whoa. And it's like that kind of feeling of when we see this thing go down, you're suddenly like, that's why. And it was just that moment in the film, and it all kind of falls into place. You're like, well done, sir. Well done. You got me. You got me.
Hopefully that same reaction is equal throughout everywhere else. But yeah, that's one thing I just even if you go back and watch it a second time, like, you'll see little stuff happening at the beginning that kind of leads you to, okay, maybe something's going on. When I wrote this story, I just wanted to have like little layers up under it. That where you think one thing's about to happen, and then I give you bait to let you think something's happened. So I make one situation kind of obvious pretty quick towards the center. But like, once you get there and you think, okay, the story's over with, and then I hit you with this, and like, what? That's one of the clever things that I wanted to put in the story, but also, kind of give it meat for this thing that and that's a good thing about this little universe idea. Even if I decide to leave the sticks as the sticks, like if the sticks 2 never works out, the story in the sticks 1 I mean, it finishes. So I mean,
Yeah.
you're never wondering what fate happened to anything. So even if the Stix 2 never happens, the Stix 1 doesn't lead you wondering like, okay, so what happened there? So I can still continue this story without being locked into it, to having to put the Stix 2 out, but having the Stix already, the 2 in the plans already, is just just a cherry on top in a way. So it's one thing with doing these movies, doing them a movie series, if you can say it like that. You got one-offs that can continue, but it's not the same as a series to where everybody's like, man, that season 1 without a season 2, season 1 is almost a throwaway. Like you didn't finish the story, So
Yeah.
that's the plus of doing movies, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's kind of like those early Marvel films in the current MCU, right? Like Iron Man and the Thor. And so like they all led into the Avengers. But when you first watched, you didn't know they were leading into the Avengers, other than Nick Fury would turn up and be like, hey, right? But you didn't really know how it was all going to come together.
Yeah.
And then it all worked into like Endgame. And you're like, oh.
Yeah. That was
And
brilliant.
just that kind of feeling that you could watch them on their own, but watching them as a unit is something completely different.
Yeah, it's just a greater experience, and that was just seeing how they pulled stuff off like that, because you could watch Iron Man and never watch another Marvel movie and still have a great experience without wondering, wait a minute, what's going on here and there. But like when you watch them all together, like it just enhances that so much more. So that was my idea with the Stix, where I can expand on these characters, give these characters depth and a background that when something comes up later, you can still work with that. And then if somebody happens, if you saw the Stix 1 and you see some of these other movies, you have a great experience. But if you never saw the Stix 1 and you just saw this other movie, it doesn't take away from your experience. So it's just one of those things where I'm free to create, and I'm not locked into any one thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, because of like the way this film is kind of layered, what's that writing experience like for you? Right? Did you get it? Like you have these ideas, and in the first pass, right, in that first draft, right, it's kind of laid down, but then do you go through it and be like, okay, that's a bit too obvious, let me change that up a little bit, and blah, blah. Like, or can you get the full vision out in one piece?
It a lot of times, or like with the Stix for example, I did a whole outline of the entire story, all the beats I wanted to hit, and how I wanted to start, where I wanted it to lead to, and how I wanted it to end. So I did a whole outline, but when I started writing, certain characters kind of pulled me certain ways. So that's one thing about writing that's almost magical, in my opinion, how you can have all this structured, but as you start writing, like the characters and their motivations start to form within the story, and it pulls you ways that you didn't expect. So a lot of the things, like with the DJ character that's in there, wasn't originally how it was written, but I started seeing like, wait a minute, he's thinking this way, he would actually do this. So he started pulling himself certain ways into the story to the way I couldn't plan for. So when you get to the script, you kind of look over and, just making sure everything meshes together. And you just kind of notice when you look at your outline, because I'm very big on preparation. So I love outlines. Like my outlines almost read like a storybook. And so when I look at the outline, I was like, wow, this is totally different than this, but it works. So like a lot of times when I finish a script, I'm just kind of amazed at how the story just took itself, and it's more looking for errors and plot holes more than anything.
Right,
And I
right.
see myself, tossing that outline out because hey, the character kind of took himself on his own ride in the story. Yeah.
Uh, and what about the whole casting situation?
Mhm.
Right? Like, how locked in are you to the vision of a character before you see those audition tapes?
What I've learned is not to be, because you rarely ever, um if you have a specific vision. I've had them before, and but the way I work is if I get too specific and I don't get that, I'll never be satisfied. Like
Mm,
it does a disservice to the person I cast, because I'm always gonna wish you were somebody else, you know. So I try to, more than anything, generalize the character, and when we have the auditions or whatever for during the casting process, I kind of fit the character around that person. So a lot of times I'll leave the character open on the script without characteristics and stuff, and then
right,
once we cast them, I kind of start adding little stuff in to kind of fit that person better, to kind of make it a more authentic thing um in the story. I kind of ran into that for my because I had this idea for the Sticks too already, and a character in the movie that we just completed after the Sticks is supposed to be in the Sticks too, and he gave me totally something different than what I had planned for that character. But it is neat because it gave me an idea on how to change that character that would kind of add a little some more to the story. So a lot of times generalizing it, you kind of find out that your thought that you had may not work, and whoever it was that you cast in that gave you something fresh that actually works better. So I usually just generalize that. A lot of, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 characters from the web series are actually brought from the web series to the movie. So is a lot of the roles have been totally cast with new people, and so that kind of kept me open on that part. When it came to the newer roles, the ones who were already in the web series, they were already there, so I knew what I was working with there. I think only one character that I kind of recreated in the movie, but so that template was already set for some of the characters that's in the movie, and the rest of them we used the auditions to kind of, all right, we can go this way with this one, we can go this way with that one, and just work to their strengths more than anything. Because if you get locked into a vision and you can't find that person, it kind of, you'll never be satisfied with it.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, sage words, man. Sage
Yeah.
words. Like, who was the hardest character to cast for you to like find for this?
I would say on this one, the hardest one was probably the Harris character that was played by Nichole Tate-Jackson. Just because she had to have so many, she had to be able to show so much emotion without showing the emotion. She had to,
Mm,
her depth and her backstory, the stress that she's going through at home and the stress that she's going through on the job. Like, she had to be able to show that without it being too over the top or too on the nose. And I would say I wanted somebody who, would feel like a mother, who would, you know, seem to be going through these stresses the way that she is in the movie. And I would say that was the one that I really wanted to nail. um Everybody else just pretty much, Chew, he's brought over from the web series. The Greer character was brought over from the web series. um so a lot of the main characters were brought from the web series, so that was already there. It was the Harris character, I would say, was probably the one that I really want to make sure I get her right for this particular story, because she depends on a lot of stuff in it.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
she yeah, really carried that role very well.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, everyone did, really. There
yeah.
there there, there weren't really any weak links here.
Yeah, yeah. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's and you know, most of a lot of them, you know, just local to my area here, and just you know, finding talent here in my area, for one, because of for budget reasons, and just two, because you know, just trying to cultivate a great film community here. The way that things are going in the industry right now, like you don't have to go to Hollywood or one of these places to make it anymore. So you
Mm,
have a lot of people just building fruitful film communities. Detroit, Michigan, here in the States, has a great one right now. Like, it's budding. Like, it's amazing what's going on there. So I'm just trying to bring that here to where I am in Tennessee. Just have, you know, cultivate the talent we have here, grow together, and just make quality projects, and bring the talent up here where I am in my current location.
I mean, you know, that's a great thing, man. That's a
Yeah.
great thing, because I think we've seen it, like Richard Linklater, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I think Texas. I think
Yeah.
that's where he's making, and a lot of these early films were made locally,
Mhm.
right? But yeah, there was that kind of idea that unless you go to Hollywood, you're never going to get anything done.
Mhm.
But we have, as you said, we've seen that move away from that model,
Mhm.
right? That people can create, you know, anywhere in the world, which is incredible, you
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah.
I will say, Jerome, don't don't close the door to finding talent in other places. You know, maybe in the UK, maybe in London, right? There
Oh,
might be some promising cat that could like kill a scene. I'm
yeah.
just saying. I'm
Hey,
just saying, my man. You know
never
what I mean?
there. I'll never close the door. That's hey, talent from everywhere is always welcome. I'm here in Tennessee. If you're willing to come over here to Tennessee, hey, we can make it happen.
I will jump on a plane. I will jump on a plane.
Hey, we can make it happen. Yeah, we can make it happen.
Now, getting these kind of performances out of your cast, like, where did you develop that kind of, because there is a skill in that,
Yeah.
right? Is there are films. I was talking to oh my god, I forget who I was talking to. It was recently talking
Mhm.
to a guy about having one of these conversations about his film, and oh my god, I forget the name of the actor. But there was an actor in this film, an old cat, who is a great actor, but I've seen him in many things. Sometimes not always the greatest of performances, but when he's on,
Mhm.
right? And so it's being able to get that out of someone.
Yeah.
And so there's a unique skill in that. So where did you develop that aspect of your game, being able to get these great performances out of the cast?
It usually just it goes to knowing your characters, knowing your actors. I have actors that I know I can push, you know, that I know have the range to do anything that I need them to do. And then you have others that are not quite there yet. So you have to go to their strengths in
Mm,
order to, you know, if you know a certain actor is not good with emotional content, you have to work with their strengths in this range. And if you have another one who's, you know, maybe as this type of character would come across as stale and robotic, maybe make his character where that is part of their personality. You know, you just have to mimic the characters to their strengths and personalities and characteristics, to a way that when somebody sees them on screen, that it just feels natural and authentic, and it doesn't seem forced or something else. And you know, sometimes you still miss on that when you're casting. You know, sometimes you can run across where, oh man, I don't know if this is gonna work or not. But more times than not, when I stick to that formula, just working to that person's strengths, they'll give you a great performance that you were looking for. And most of the time, most directors, I believe, know the actors that they can push to do anything they need done, and those they just have to work to their strengths, and that's how you get a great performance, in my opinion, is just working to that person's strengths and not making them do something that you're not trying to put a a square peg in a circle hole or something. Just trying to just working to that person's abilities and maximizing on that.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, it makes a lot of sense, man. Makes a lot of sense. Right? Because you got really good performances, man. So yeah, kudos, man. Kudos.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Now, because this is part of this universe, right? How much of that roadmap have you written?
I've actually I just completed the second one. The third one I hope to go into production this summer. I have 4 movies already planned, and the 5th movie would hopefully be the Stix 2. But I also have enough wiggle room that where if those 3rd and 4th don't happen, that I can still make the Stix 2 and it wouldn't jeopardize. Like those 3rd and 4th films are not needed to have the Stix 2. But even if I made them, like, you would be like, oh, okay, like they're connected enough to where you would still have a great experience if you saw all of them. But if you didn't, you don't need them. So that's kind of like the thing that I'm more proud of with this idea. Is very ambitious, but I feel more confident pulling this off than I did making a season 2 of the Stix series. It's a lot more contained. It's a lot easier to produce. And I think once it's all said and done and I get this vision out the way that I'm seeing it, it'll be a great experience for people who follow the projects.
Right. Nice. I mean, I'm looking forward to it, man. Like, is there a branding that will be going across so there's this connective tissue on it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like, with Ryan Johnson's Glass Onion films, it's like a Glass Onion mystery, kind of thing. So is there something that you've kind of envisioned that you're put on the title or something, or how have you seen this?
Yeah, like a lot of my social media is just the Stix Universe. So a lot of those like subsequent films, like with Cubic Zirconia, for instance, when you see it, it's going to say the Stix Universe presents. So you kind of know that, okay, this might be a part of that. So yeah, like just that. A lot of it with the logo work. You can kind of see something in there that's going to kind of connect them as well. So I have like a lot of clever ideas to go with it. If it works or not, we'll see. But yeah, I've put a lot of planning and preparation into this whole universe thing because it's a group of stories and characters that I believe that will have enough depth to them to be interesting and eventually something that a lot of people would want to see. So I think it's a bunch of interesting stories, especially the follow-up when you see the Lieutenant Clark character. And I think it'll work well for audiences once they see the project.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. I mean, yo, this is I'm intrigued, man. I'm intrigued. I mean, when's the world gonna be able to watch the Stix?
The Stix is actually coming the 28th of this month of June. So the Stix will be coming starting on I believe Amazon and Apple and more platforms to be announced. And then just waiting to see and get the audience response to that, and hopefully not too long after that, this fall sometimes, Cubic Zirconia, which is the follow-up film.
Okay.
Okay. It'll be ready to go. So this is happening pretty quickly and pretty consistently. So I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Now, is the second one Zirconia because it's indie? Like, if it was a major, would you have called it Diamond if Apple were producing it? Yeah.
The Cubic Zirconia has a hidden meaning. So yeah, yeah, like the theme behind that one is everything you see is not what it seems. So yeah,
Ooh,
that's the hidden
okay.
meaning behind that title.
Okay, we got more of that coming.
Yeah,
Okay. All
yeah,
right. Now,
yeah,
one thing, this has been great. I've enjoyed this, man. Thank
yeah.
you for your time.
Oh,
But
thank you.
was something that you mentioned early on,
Uh-huh.
right? About when we're talking about the like corrupt files and whatnot,
Mhm,
right? So
mhm,
because we're gonna be getting this universe, right?
mhm,
And there's so much depth and intricacy to it.
mhm.
Will we be getting some behind the scenes? Will we be getting some director commentary, some cast commentary, some of that? Do you know what I mean? Because it just feels like that would be the perfect accompaniment to your projects.
Oh yeah, I'm working on a lot of that. I have a lot of that content already together. That
Outstanding.
I'm getting scheduled to go upon the release. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of content because I want people to get familiar with these characters. I want them to get familiar with these actors, with these stories. So I have big plans behind this universe idea, and I have a lot of stuff in the works to just kind of get audience members more um interested and more intrigued by these characters and these actors. And yeah, I have a lot in the plans, and hopefully I can start rolling some of that out here shortly. Yeah.
Yo, okay, well, you have whetted my appetite. I'm on board for this.
Yeah.
It's all about the Stix universe,
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how can people like keep track of what's going on? How can we follow you, the film, and everything else online?
um the the movie is on as far as online is on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, on the Stix Universe. Just type in the Stix. We spell the Stix with a little style. It's Stix. So the Stix Universe, you can find that on social media. The website will be up soon as well. As far as me personally, you can look on Facebook and just search my name, Jaron Lockridge on Facebook, and you'll find me on Facebook, or you can search Guerrilla Filmer, kind of like guerrilla warfare, but filmer on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, or whatever. And you can find me, and you'll learn a lot about these projects as we continue to roll them out.
Well,
Yeah.
people, make sure you go do that. Mark down the 28th of June in the calendar
Yeah.
because you want to be on this at the ground floor,
Yeah.
right? And when you watch this film, people, when you see the intricacy, right, the depth of these characters, you're gonna finish and you're gonna be thinking, yo, but when's Zubik Konya coming?
Yeah.
When's the next joint coming? Jerome, get back in the studio. We want more. Right. So make sure you go
Hope.
follow him, go watch the film because this is a hell of a ride.
Yeah.
Hell
Thanks.
of a ride.
Thanks. And that's the hope. Hopefully people see the Sticks and was like, okay, you said it was another movie. When is it coming? So that's the goal always, to intrigue the audience enough to want more.
Oh, they will be wanting more, my friend. They will definitely be wanting more.
I appreciate it.
No worries at all. All the links are on the website, people. So make sure you go give Jerome a follow, go check out the film, follow the Stix universe. And then, as I say, on the 28th, go watch it, go share it with your friends, and make sure Jerome knows that you want that next one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yo, thank you so much for your time, man.
Well, thank you for having me.
Really appreciated it. This has
Thank
been
you.
great. And I hope come Zubix, you'll be ready for another conversation.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Anytime you have me, I'll be here.
Outstanding, man. I am looking forward to our follow-up conversations. And yeah, because I just want to know more now. I wanna know more.
Great.
Hey, man. Well, I hope that, man, on the 28th, people just show you the love, because I enjoyed the hell out of this. I think, people that enjoyed The Wire will like this.
Mhm.
Man, there was a couple of films. Gosh, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. There's Between Sins and All Gone Wrong. Two other great indie kind of like crime stories. And I think if like anyone that enjoyed those will enjoy the Stix. Anyone just enjoy great storytelling is going to enjoy the Stix. So hey, I hope you get the reception that you deserve,
Mhm.
and that you just keep on telling these stories, man, because you're doing a tremendous job. And I just cannot wait for more. So thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it truly.
Hey, no worries at all, man. Have a great day. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Peace.